Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Member Trenier will lead the Pledge of Allegiance and introduce the clergy for today.
Hit the gavel a few times.
Yeah, I did before, and then I realized the Republicans had to come up.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to introduce our prayer for this morning. Deborah is a neighbor and friend. She's been a resident of Bolingbrook for over 19 years, and she's contributed to our community in many ways. She's been a small business owner as a wine enthusiast. She owned a wine shop. She has worked in her career as a CPA. And at one point she decided to become an interfaith minister and took up the study of all the world's religions, both past and present. She's used her faith to unify and to create a space in our community that is safe for all. Please welcome Deborah Wiris O'Neill.
Oh, I've never gotten applause. Good morning, everyone. My name is, as Jackie said, my name is Deborah Wiris O'Neill, and I'm an interfaith minister through the New Seminary in New York. As an interfaith minister, I've studied, respect, and honor all the world's religions. Religions have never agreed on everything, and they probably never will. So at the New Seminary, we focus on our commonalities, not our differences, in order to bring people together and hopefully make the world a better place. Even if we don't understand one another or agree with each other, we can treat each other with honesty and compassion, and at the very least, tolerance. I believe that this is the path to peace, and it's what I'm committed to. So let us pray. Please feel free to close your eyes and hear these words with your heart. Divine Spirit, Creator of all things, great and small, be here with us today. We are grateful for this day and for all the good that has been bestowed upon us from the moment we opened our eyes this morning to welcome this new day. We pray that you fill our hearts with love and our minds with your wisdom so that we can accomplish today what we came here to do. Remind us throughout this session that each of us is a child of God, the person on our right and the person on our left. We are all children of God deserving love and respect. We ask you to bestow blessings upon each of us. Help us to work together to communicate with compassion and respect. Help us to put aside our need to be right and open our ears to listen without judgment. Fill us with your wisdom and with courage to speak our truth. May our time together be efficient and productive. May we be inspired by your Spirit to find viable and creative solutions to the issues we are responsible to solve. While we work together in service to our community, help us keep our thoughts on you and on what is in the best interests of those we serve. Divine Creator, fill our minds with good thoughts and intentions and our hearts with a smile. And when we leave here today, help us to remember that everyone we come in contact with is a child of God, our brother, our sister, and they too are deserving of love and respect. And so it is. Blessed be, Shalom, Amin, Namaste, and Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for coming. Have a great day.
She's really awesome. I think I tried to get you to meet her once.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Ferry.
Here.
Frizzalone.
Here.
Newquist.
Here.
Ogala. Cook.
Here.
Moostis.
Here.
Rice. Tyson.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Trainier. Fritz. Mueller. Gould. Van Dyne.
Here.
Balich. Brooks.
Here.
Parker. Ventura. Dollinger. Markham.
Here.
Berkowitz. Cowan. Tuminello. Weigel. Carlitis. Winfrey.
Here.
24 present, 2 absent.
We have a quorum. Motion to place on file the certificate of publication. Moved by Weigel, second by Markham. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I've got to go.
We need a roll call vote.
Ferry.
Yes.
Frizzalone.
Yes.
Newquist.
Yes.
Ogalla. Cook.
Yes.
Moostis. Rice. Tyson. Harris.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Fritz. Mueller. Gould. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Balich. Brooks.
Yes.
Parker. Ventura. Markham. Berkowitz. Cowan. Tuminello. Weigel. Carlitis. Winfrey.
Yes.
24 affirmative.
Motion carries. Okay. We have approval of minutes for the Will County Board recessed meeting, December 19th, 2019. Moved by Mueller, second by Gould. All those in favor? Previous roll by Markham. Second by Frizzalone. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you acknowledge our elected officials and media?
Yep, today we have Speaker Denise Winfrey, County Clerk Lawrence Staley Ferry, Recorder of Deeds Karen Stuckel, State's Attorney James Glasgow, and Illinois State Senator Jennifer Bertino-Tarrant.
Thank you.
For the media, we have Alice Fabre from the Southtown and Alex Ortiz from the Herald News.
Thank you. Okay, honorary resolutions and proclamations. First up, we have a check presentation to Joliet Township High School Band. Mr. Brooks, will you join me?
Central or just the top?
It is Central.
Thank you.
Let's see. It is back.
Joining us this morning from Joliet Central is Don Stenson, who is the band director, and 2 of his senior students who will introduce themselves.
First off, thank you very much to the Will County Board for this generous donation that they're about to present with us. Joliet Central High School, formerly Joliet Township High School. Today, it's considered a low-income, high-need school. Almost 70% of our students are on free reduced lunch. We have about 3% of students in the school that are homeless. There's a lot that our students don't have, but what they do have is an incredible work ethic and dedication and respect for the arts. Our band at Joliet Central High School. It's one of the oldest bands in the nation, started around 1912, and it's still going pretty strong today due to the students like Noah and Alexis next to me. The check presentation is going to help offset the cost for our invitation to play at Lincoln Center in New York, home of the New York Philharmonic Symphony Orchestra, and it's on March 23rd, 2020. Will be live broadcasted, BBC, New York Times, etc. So hopefully you can join us digitally there as well. Noah Riley, our band president.
Hi, my name is Noah Riley, and as Mr. Stinson said, I am band president at Joliet Central. Just a little bit of context about our New York trip. Ever since I've been in the band, we've received a bit of state recognition by performing at the Super State Festival down at U of I for the past 3 years in a row now, but this New York trip is really special to us because, at least since I've been here, this is kind of our first level of national recognition, so we're really proud to be representing our city in New York.
Hello, my name is Alexis Maldonado. I am the band vice president. On behalf of the Joliet Central Band, we would like to say thank you to our community. 102 years of history would not be possible without the generosity of our community as well as the immense support, so thank you all.
As you can tell by how well-spoken these children are, I am really proud to be an alumnus of Joliet Central. I'm a Steelman. Around the front with That's okay, you and Larry. We need a motion, right? We need a motion. Okay.
Denise identification.
I'm over here.
$10,000 you all. Smaller check, this is hard to let go of time. Okay. All right. That means that big check you don't put in your pocket.
And then we have, next up we have Mike Frizzalone and Steve Ballage with a proclamation.
So we're going to recognize today Ben Sluzes, who won the state golf champion for 3A for the second year in a row. Back in the day when I was in high school, we didn't have golf. We were lucky we had Marquette Park to go out and hack a ball around for a little bit. But I will say, and it does say in here that we won with a 69. I don't want to brag, but I have shot a 66. Unfortunately, I didn't do as well in the back nine. Old golf joke. So, here's our proclamation. Where it is the intent of the Will County Board and the Will County Executive to recognize outstanding achievements of individuals and organizations in Will County, and whereas Lockport Township Junior Ben Sluzes won the 3A individual title for the second straight year with his 3 under par 69 at the Den of Fox Creek, earning him a total of 4 under 140 and a one-stroke victory. And whereas Ben is the first back-to-back winner in boys 3A and the first in any boys class since 2007. And whereas this accomplishment can be attributed to the commitment of Coach Matt Eber and his staff and the determination and hard work of Ben, now therefore be it resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive hereby honor Lockport Township High School student Ben Sluzes for his Class 3A State Golf Championship. Be it further resolved that Ben Sluzes, Coach Matt Eber, and the entire coaching staff be commended for their distinguished honor. Dated the 16th day of January 2020, signed by Lawrence M. Walsh, County Executive, and attested by Laura Staley Ferry, Will County Clerk. Thanks, Ben. Want to say anything? Want to say something?
Congratulations. So I'll keep it quick, but I would just like to say thank you to the Will County Board today for the short honor and the certificate. So thank you.
I also want to thank the board for recognizing one of Lockport's finest athletes over the years. He's done something that's pretty amazing since 1923 in the state tournament. Going back to that history, his accomplishments are amazing. He does have a chance to do something that only one person has ever done before, and that's win a third title. Ben's a kid who can handle the pressure, so I don't feel bad even mentioning it because he's such a smooth operator on the golf course that he's going to just have a great chance and a great opportunity to do whatever he wants to do in the golf world. It's a pleasure coaching him, and again, I thank you all for recognizing him. He's a worthy recipient of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, buddy. Thank you so much.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Frizzalone, second by Mr. Ballage. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next up, we have Amanda Cook and Jim Mustis.
Morning. As a proud Lincoln Way alum, this is a really important thing for me to recognize our state football champions from Lincoln Way East. All right, into the resolution first. Whereas it is the intent of the Will County Board and the Will County Executive to recognize outstanding achievements of individuals and organizations in Will County, and whereas Lincoln Way East High School claimed their third Class 8A state championship on November 30th, 2019 in DeKalb, Illinois with a 12-0 victory over Warren High School. Whereas the 14-0 Griffins took the lead with 2 field goals in the second quarter, Lincoln Way's defense dominated the game, holding Warren to only 3 first downs and 36 total yards. And whereas the winning season can be attributed to the determination and commitment of Coach Rob Zvonar, the outstanding coaching staff, and the members of the Lincoln Way East High School football team. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive hereby recognize Lincoln Way East High School for their Class 8A state football championship. Be it further resolved that Coach Zvonar, the coaching staff, and all the members of the Lincoln Way East High School football team be commended for this distinguished honor. Dated this 16th day of January, 2020. Lawrence M. Walsh, Will County Executive, and Lawrence Staley Ferry, Will County Clerk, attesting. I so move.
Second.
Hi, Coach. How are you there? Nice seeing you. You know, I've lived in the Lincoln Way High School District for a long time, 48 years. I've sent 6 children from Lincoln Way, some who played football, nephews, nieces, and some were pretty good football players. And I remember the first year, I want to say it was around 1987, Lincoln Way actually got into the sectional. It was like, wow, we won a playoff game. It was really an accomplishment. And now it seems to be pretty routine. I mean, that's the level our young people, our high school students have taken the athletics in our area. Yeah, I often say that Will County, not just the Lincoln Way area, has the best prep sports in the country. We really have a lot of players. But what I find most interesting is not only are they great athletes, usually they're the top of their class. Academically, they do extremely well. And it's a tribute to Coach and Lincoln Way. And all I want to say is congratulations, guys, and you just keep getting bigger. You know, I remember when a lineman was 185 pounds, he was pretty good size, right? You know, but Coach, I know you'd like to say a few words. We'll come up. Once again, congratulations.
My name is Rob Zvonar, and I have the privilege of being the head football coach at Lincoln Way East, and we just want to thank the Will County Board so much for this recognition today. With me today, I have a few very special young men. All our young men are special, but these are our leaders of our team and our captains today. Starting almost down there on the end, Dominic Jobin is an All-American, just recently named a high school All-American kicker and punter, and he is committed to on full scholarship to play at Miami of Ohio University next year. Down here closer to the end, Sean McLaughlin. Sean is a team captain. He's an all-state defensive end. He's also an academic, speaking to Mr. Mustis's point, an academic all-stater with an incredible 4.6 GPA on a 4-point scale. And Sean is committed to play football next year for Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern University. Down all the way on the end, Adrian Wilson. Adrian's a team captain, honorable mention all-state defensive end. Adrian is also an academic all-stater with a 3.9 GPA and is going to play football on full scholarship at Bowling Green State University. Here on the end, team captain, all-state linebacker, Jake Kramer. Again, academic all-state with a 3.9 GPA. Jake will be going on to play college football and is undecided at this point. And then finally with us today, Martin Hoban. Martin is a team captain, all-area offensive lineman, not 185 pounds. And then Martin kind of, you know, the kid in class that sets the curve that nobody likes, well, that's Martin Hoban. 5.0 GPA on a 4, 1,400 on the SATs. And Martin has his choice of universities, obviously, and he is going to choose one, and most likely will play football as well. Not with us today. We have blessed to have another All-American, and the reason A.J. Henning is not with us today, as I woke up in 14-degree weather, A.J. is playing in one of the prestigious high school All-American Bowls today, Saturday night. That bowl that he's in is called the Polynesian Bowl, and he's in Hawaii this week, getting ready for that. And AJ is going on to play for the University of Michigan next year. So my job as coach with this group was just to get the heck out of the way and not screw them up. But again, very honored to be here today, and we thank you all for all you do for Will County.
All right. I'm going to have you hold this, Coach.
I'll be the middle looking guy. Here, Denise, get up there. You'll really like it. It's a great school. Pretty girls. Thank you. Both on the field and in the classroom. These all look bigger when I get closer.
We had a motion by Cook, a second by Mr. Moustis. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. First up, we have Land Use and Development Committee, Mr. Markham.
All right, good morning, Madam Speaker. Before I make a motion to open the public hearing, I just want to make sure everybody is aware that number 2 on the agenda, zoning case EC-19-067, there's an error. We tabled that at committee, so that one won't be heard today, so just so everybody's aware when we get there. So I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for all land use cases.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Moustis. All those in favor? Or call the roll?
I need to call the roll, yep. Ferry?
Yes.
Frizzalone? Yes. Newquist?
Yes.
Ogala?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Moustis?
Yes.
Rice? Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz? Mueller?
Yes.
Gould?
Yes.
Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Parker? Ventura? Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz? Cowan? Tumanello? Weigel? Crolitis? Winfrey?
Yes. We are now in public hearing.
25 affirmative.
I'm not sure if anybody signed up to speak for the zoning cases.
We don't
have any speakers.
No speakers?
No speakers.
We have no speakers signed up for any of the zoning cases. Are there any members in the public wishing to sign, or wishing to speak rather, on the zoning cases that are before us this morning? Members of the public wishing to speak? No members of the public wishing to speak. Mr. Markham?
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ventura. Madam Clerk?
Ferry?
Yes.
Frizzalone?
Yes.
Newquist? Ogala?
Yes.
Cook?
Yes.
Moustis? Rice? Tyson?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Trainier?
Yes.
Fritz? Mueller? Gould? Van Dyne?
Yes.
Balich? Brooks?
Oh, yeah.
Parker? Ventura? Markham?
Yes.
Berkowitz? Cowan? Tumanello? Weigel? Crolitis? Winfrey?
Yes.
25 affirmative.
All right, so first up, we have zoning case CC-19-059. This application was withdrawn, so I will make a motion to remove that from the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Cook. Previous roll by Mr. Weigel, second by Ms. Ogala. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up, we have zoning case ZC-19-067. This is the one that we tabled at committee. That was a clerical error on the agenda, so I'll make a motion to remove this from the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in previous roll by Ms. Ventura, second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up, we have zoning case ZC-19-077. This is a special use permit for ancillary liquor service in conjunction with allowed agritourism, a special use permit for rural events, a special use permit for landscaping and lawn maintenance business in Joliet Township, commonly known as 2225 Maple Road, Joliet, Illinois, County Board District Number 8. And I will make a motion to approve the ancillary liquor service with allowed agritourism use with 4 conditions.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Brooks. Previous roll by Ms. Ventura, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, for the same zoning case, we have the special use permit for rural events, which has 8 conditions, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Fritz. Previous roll by Ms. Mueller. Second by Mr. Brooks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next up, we have for the same zoning case, a special use permit for a landscaping and lawn maintenance business with 11 conditions, and I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Trenier. Previous roll by Ms. Cook, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up we have Land Use and Development Committee resolutions. First, we had the appeal of zoning, Planning and Zoning Commission decision for case ZC-19-068. This was tabled at our committee meeting, so I'll make a motion to remove this from the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ventura. Previous roll by Ms. Cook. Second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, number 2, we have appeal of Planning and Zoning Commission decision, APCD-19-003 for case ZC-19-076. This was in Green Garden Township, commonly known as 24018 South Center Road, and vacant land on South Center Road, Frankfort, Illinois, County Board District Number 2. This was the request for yard setback, so I'll make a motion to concur with the Planning and Zoning Commission. So a yes vote would approve the denial, a no vote would allow
Is that clear? Mr. Markham?
Yeah, but they told me that I had to make a motion to concur with. Hold on 1 second, please. So.
The resolution overrode EPCC.
So, hold on. Mary, the question is, so the committee voted to override the appeal, but I thought that I was told that the motions had to be made in the affirmative to concur with planning and zoning. So I'll just leave it there for you to fix.
Put that at your feet. She coming down or she done?
That's how that's how it was last month also when we had an appeal. I just do what lawyers tell me to, so I apologize, everybody. And while we're figuring that out, Madam Speaker, we did have people who would like to speak on this case.
We have, yeah.
But just so everybody's aware.
We have a couple of 3.
I apologize, everybody. Land use was going so smoothly until then.
These appeals, they always trip us up, right? So the resolution is written, and I would recommend you stay consistent with this, would it be that you make a motion to uphold the recommendation of Land Use and Development Committee. Well, now, was the land, answer me that, I was not at Land Use, so.
So the land use voted to override the Planning and Zoning Commission to allow the variances.
Okay.
To allow the variances. We
Okay.
voted in
All right,
committee to
so-
override.
Yeah, so that's right. So so you'd make the motion to uphold the recommendation of Land Use and Development Committee to approve the appeal and requested variance contrary to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So if you vote yes, you are granting the appeal. If you vote no, you are then denying the appeal. Because land use did not uphold, so PZC and land use made different decisions. Right. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
does that make sense?
So I'd like to withdraw my previous motion. And I'll make a motion to uphold the recommendation of the Land Use and Development Committee to approve the variance and override the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Okay. And just for your awareness,
So a yes vote allows the variance, a no vote denies the variance.
and
So clear as mud.
oh, not yet. Yeah.
No, we did not. Land Use Committee did vote to recommend the variance.
Okay. And you need...
This is, he's requesting a variance so he can build a barn, and it's a yard setback from 20 feet to 12 feet. So if you want, I know, I told him.
Yeah.
I believe he told us that committee, maybe I'm not paying attention, it takes majority.
It takes 20 affirmative votes to override planning and zoning.
Right, that's right.
Okay.
So there's questions, but
Is
there are two
everyone
people.
clear on what the motion is? We're going to do...
Yes.
We're going to...
You will be.
We're going to go to the discussion, which will be an opportunity for you to speak. And we have a couple people who would like to speak on this one. So the motion then, is everyone clear what the motion is? Mm-hmm. Okay. So moved by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Cook. No. Okay. So we put the motion on the floor. Now we're ready for the discussion, and we have at least two people that I know of who want to speak on this. So if you come forward and identify yourself at the podium, please.
Whoever wants to go first.
One of you.
Good morning, everyone. Peter Waiter at 24018 South Center Road. And I swear that I'm a magnet for attention because everything was going so smoothly this morning, and this is a lot more intimidating than the other meetings we've had. I'm here on behalf of my father. My father is Tony. He's in the corner there. He just had surgery, so I didn't want him to come down. I've been speaking on many things that we've had going on, but in essence of keeping it short and sweet, like Mr. Meacham had said, we had several variances after a long year of different situations going on at the property. Ultimately, in correlation with our neighbors' wishes as well as staff's, we filed a building permit for an auxiliary building, which is, I thought there was a screen behind me, sorry. And it required two variances, one of which was for square footage in the A2 zoning district, and the second, which was a reduction of the side setback, as he mentioned. Currently, zoning requires 20 feet. We had, after dealing with the contractors and engineers, we had asked for a reduction down to 12 feet. It was for several reasons. One was there is an existing fencing on both our neighbor's property and our property, which narrows this portion of our property where we want to put the building. And being how the building is being used for hay storage and for agricultural equipment and trailers used and implements, we had asked for that offset in order to be able to make the turns to utilize the garage, the doors. As far as the finding of statement of fact, during the Planning and Zoning Commission, the last comments that were made by one of the commissioners happened to be what we now know was an error, and I brought some copies of his words there. He had brought up Google Maps image, and for some reason he had stated that there was 60 feet between an existing building that we have now and fencing that's there. At the time, I did not know, I never measured it, to be honest, so I couldn't speak on that behalf. After that was denied, and the square footage was approved, so when we left there, we had one approval, one denial. After measuring it, that is actually, in fact, less than 30 feet. It's about 29.25 feet. I did, at the Land and Use Committee, I did bring some of that to pass around. I brought it also today. I do firmly believe that that was the reason why Planning and Zoning didn't approve it at that point. I've been at probably 12 Planning and Zoning meetings over the last year, and things are approved down to 1 feet, 2 feet, 4 feet all the time in residential areas. This is an A2 zoning. It's a stretch along Center Road that's surrounded by larger A1 properties. The particular area that we live in is typically between 5 and 10 acre properties. This 8-foot reduction we did with the respect of that we weren't trying to encroach the neighbor's property. This is wide open land where this building is going. It's not near anything. It doesn't inhibit any part of our neighbor's daily life. Further, which throughout the process of last year, we did spend a considerable amount of money to put up 224 feet of fencing, which is 6-foot cedar fencing. When finances are able to later this year, we will continue that throughout the property. So, in addition to the fact that, in reality, the 8 feet, I don't believe, changes our neighbors' lives at all. There will be also a 6-foot fence there. So, the best example or I guess, side of our story, if you will, that I can tell you is when you're looking at me where everyone is sitting right now, you don't see me any differently if I'm standing here or if I'm standing here. It's really, and if we were talking at a subdivision lot that was very small, 8 feet can make a very big difference. But in relation to the size of our property and our neighbors, 8 feet might as well be 8 inches. It really makes no difference. So as far as literature or evidence, I do have these where I pulled it up so you guys can verify that it is not 60 feet, which was brought up at that meeting, as well as the meeting minutes with the highlighted portion where the commissioner had mentioned it was 60. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm very grateful for Land Use's time and the ability for them to look into the case and vote for an approval as they did on Tuesday. And my last point I'd like to make is that seemingly with the level of issues and topics and things that this board deals with, I would imagine this is probably on a lower level of importance for everybody. And when everyone leaves here today, probably in an hour, they won't even remember that I was here. But the fact that we do need a supermajority vote, it's very impactful to my father and to myself. And to our neighbors, again, in a month, I don't think they'll even care or remember either. So I just want everybody that maybe, doesn't have a firm yes or no that they're playing in their minds right now, that they think about that, because for us, it's impactful for years to come. The cost of the building is $65,000. My dad's been retired for 12 years. He's on a fixed income. The idea here is to improve the property, clean up equipment and hay that is currently being stored in semi-trailers, which my neighbor has desperately want removed for a year. And we're right there. I'd even sign an affidavit to remove them 72 hours, weather permitting, the minute this building is up. It'll take 5 days to construct. Contractors are ready. Building permit is completely approved pending today's forum or in board meeting. So happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you. I believe we have one more person who wanted to speak. Give them to the clerk.
Does anybody want to see the map or the meeting notes?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
If you'd come forward and give those to the clerk, please. Ma'am? Ma'am? Would you come forward and give those to the clerk, please?
I asked him when I came in.
Thank you. If you give us your name?
Yes. Good morning. I'm Sharon Stack. This is my husband, Thomas. This is a rarity. Tom doesn't usually make it up to the podium with me, but we figured this was our last hurrah, and so here he is. I do have some handouts because I want to make sure that you guys are able to see visually what the property looks like. We don't have an audio visual, but I think it's important to know where the property line is, where the proposed building is. I know we talk about 8 feet, and Mr. Watar says, it's not a big deal. If it's not a big deal, then why are we taking that 8 feet? Just some history again, the semi-trailers on the property about 13 months ago, we did file a complaint. That's not something we want to see. They did file for, was given 2 extensions on the complaint. He's now in violation. He did file for a map amendment from A2 to A1. It was denied. He filed for a variance for the accessory building and also for the 12-foot setback. We were in approval of the building. We want him to have a building. Really, if he needs something to put his hay in, please build the building. It's better than the trailers. However, we're a little bit concerned about the 12-foot setback. And again, it would be easier if you were able to see it, but his main concern is that it's easier for him to drive his truck and trailer into the building if he's allowed that additional 8 feet. We feel that there are some solutions. There's 30 feet separation between his building in the front and the building in the back that he proposes. If he puts a 14-foot wide door in there, which is standard on a building that he wants to do, there is absolutely no reason why he needs an additional 8 feet to make that turn. There is plenty of room. We've had a trailer, we've had horses, we've pulled our hay, we've done all that, and we have never had an issue. He could move the proposed building back 5 or 10 feet, and with that, he would have more room if he needed to make that turn. There's plenty of other acreage to consider. This is not the only location on the property that he can put an accessory building. There are many locations on the 9.5 acres or whatever that he has that he can put the accessory building. We've talked about the fence, and he said, there's not enough room there. Well, we feel that if you really need something, then you need to adjust your property, and if you need to move your fence, then you need to move your fence. You have to make your property work for you. And if he's going to already have a lot of equipment out there to build the building that he wants, he has the equipment there to move an electric fence. I mean, it's a little bit of underground wire, and it's probably about 10 posts. That's it. That's what it is to move it. So we feel that he has that. A problem, we think, is that because there's less space between his building and our property, that means less time and less space for water filtration into the ground, and that's going to be more water runoff. We are concerned about that. That, we feel, can be a very big issue. And so the additional footage, although it's only 8 feet, would allow more time for runoff from that barn to actually infiltrate into the ground before it runs onto our property. Again, in closing, my husband and I, we're normal people. We consider ourselves good neighbors. We've helped out neighbors. We've actually built the canopy that you see on his property. We helped the neighbor before him build that. So, we're helpful. We want to see things progress. We want to see things move, but not at the detriment of our property. We've been there for 32 years. We've really worked hard at it. We've improved it, and we just feel that, again, 8 feet, he can work with that 8 feet in another location. So we appreciate, again, land use development. We appreciate all the time. We know that Janine has done a lot of work on this. We know we've been in front of a lot of committee members. We've been here a lot. We wish the best to our neighbor and his barn. We're happy to see he's going to be bringing a horse into the area. We had to give our horses up. We're happy to see all that coming back, but again, not to the detriment of our property. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Are there others wishing to speak on this case?
Can I just make a closing statement? I just wanted to say, there was one new topic that came up, which was water drainage. Site plans and building plans have already been submitted from Design Tech, a engineering firm in Mokina, which was recommended by the county on an approved list. And all this area here is either all hay, grass, or gravel. There's absolutely no problems for up to a 100-year flood storm, and that is already signed and sealed with the building department. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there others wishing to speak on this case? Others? Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Mr. Mustis?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I know that staff has put a lot of time into this, or certainly it's been a situation that has gone on for some time. There's been numerous hearings for different types of conditions or for actions, I would say, zoning changes, variances and so forth. I would like to hear from staff, if we may, to kind of maybe give their perspective on the variance and maybe give us a little bit more history on the whole property.
Thank you. Okay.
Can someone from staff come down and give comment?
Sir, did you have a question for us? Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, if you have finished your comment, we're going to have staff now.
Yeah, thank you.
Can each have your seats?
Yeah.
I had a question. I'm a little bit confused on that in land use, but we're talking about...
It's 8 feet?
Yes.
Where the fence overlays the property. Whose property is this fence on?
The fence is on the property line. It's between us.
Okay.
That was put up because we didn't want to see the trailers anymore, so we put the fence up.
Okay. On your property or his property?
Well, no, he's not going to put a fence up on my property.
Oh, okay, that's why I wanted to make, because I'm going to say this is an easy decision. If that's, all right, I
Yeah,
understand.
okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
So I do have, about the fencing. You commented that you are replacing your fencing with a 6-foot cedar. So that means that that particular portion of the fence, you're not replacing because it belongs to you, correct?
Oh, I would not be replacing any fencing. No, I would not be replacing any fencing.
So that's going to continue, there will not be a 6-foot fence there.
Right, the fence is really tall, and there's a gap on the bottom of about this. So if there's going to be any water runoff, it is definitely, it's definitely coming our way, okay? We have a small, I don't want to call, I don't know if it's called a creek, is it called a flowage? What is it called on the edge of our property? Drainage? Anyway, it comes through the property, across the street, it comes across our driveway, it goes across there. So when it's raining, we have Lake Stack. It is long and wide, and we get runoff from all over the place. So we will have that. We will have that additional water.
It's in a different, what she's mentioning also across the street, this building is being sold to that. We're limiting the water, we can run the water.
Okay. Wait, Janine, would you...
Okay, are we done?
Clarify? Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Janine Farrell with the Land Use Department. So I can provide you some background on just the applicants and the previous cases that have gone before. I did speak at the Republican caucus today as well, just giving that sort of brief history of everything. So this has been going on for about 1.5 years now. The applicant was placed into violation for having 2 semi-truck trailers on the property. The applicant is still in violation for that use. He had applied for 2 temporary use permits to allow those semi-truck trailers on the property. Both were approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. That second temporary use was set to expire towards the end of November. So the applicant is in violation because the semi-truck trailers are still sitting there, and code enforcement is actively working on this. The court date will be in February for that issue. Throughout this time of the temporary use permits going on, the applicant did apply for a map amendment to rezone the property to A1. That request was later withdrawn by the applicant after it was denied at the Land Use and Development Committee meeting. So the applicant is now looking to build a building on the property. 20-foot setback is the required standard for the A2 zoning district, and he is requesting 12 feet. Staff recommended denial of that variance request. The criteria, and I did include that, it's the second page of the memo that I had included as part of this. So the criteria that we review variances by, we talk about unique situations or circumstances of the property, any sort of topographical conditions that are restricting the location of the building, such as a floodplain or a wetland. We talk about the essential character of the area and if this would impact that. And you can see in my staff report, I have a full rundown of that. So based upon those criteria, staff recommended denial of the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended denial of that variance request. And then the applicant, within his right, appealed that decision to the Land Use and Development Committee, which I believe there was a vote, I think it was like 5-2? Yes. Correct, 5-2, where they overturned that denial. And it is before you today, a vote of 20 affirmative to overturn that denial. And I can answer any questions.
Okay.
My question isn't on the applicant property, but the neighbor property. I understood that there was a garage located 10 feet from the property line, and now the applicant is asking for 12 feet from the property line. Why would it be that their garage can be 10 and he can't have something that brings them into, I don't know, conformance or whatever the proper term is, at 12?
Sure. So that southern property, the Stacks property in question there, they do have a garage. I don't have an exact date of construction, but aerial images suggest it was like in the early 1980s that it was built. And at that time, the zoning ordinance had different setback requirements. So 10 feet, that garage would have been in compliance at that time under that zoning ordinance. Now we have a 20-foot minimum for the A2 zoning district. The applicant's property has 324, a little over that, feet of frontage, so the property's width. So there is sufficient room to accommodate 20 feet, and a 50-foot wide building, which is another reason why staff recommended denial. There really is no, existing condition of the property which restricts to a 12-foot setback.
Okay. Other questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Janine.
Thank you.
So we have on the floor a motion and a second. If there are no further questions, roll call. Now there's a question.
I was just going to speak in support of the applicant. Based on Janine's description there, yes, there is. But as the applicant has stated, he'd have to move his electric fence. I'm also guessing that part of the reason he's putting it on that part of the property is probably access to the other building that he already has, although he hasn't said that. But I feel like we changed from 10 feet to 20 feet. Nobody gave me any rationale for why that was a good thing. This gentleman just wants a variance, which is our right to grant. Despite the fact that he may have additional room on his property. He uses it to farm hay. Depending on where he puts that building, I'm sure that's going to impact the amount of hay he can plant, sow, reap, whatever you call it. So I'm going to be in support of the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Okay. Call. Just a reminder, a yes vote is affirmative. Is it the siding with the appeal? Is that correct?
A yes vote would allow the variance, a no vote would deny the variance.
Right, and we have to have a supermajority.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Ferry.
Yes.
Frizzalone.
No.
Newquist.
Yes.
Ogalla.
No.
Cook.
Yes.
Moostis.
No.
Rice.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Fritz. Mueller.
Yes.
Gould.
No.
Van Dyne.
Yes.
Balich.
No.
Brooks.
Yes.
Parker. Ventura. Markham.
No.
Berkowitz.
No.
Cowan.
No.
Tumanello.
No.
Weigel.
Yes.
Krolitis.
No.
Winfrey.
Yes.
It's all right. 13 affirmative, 12 negative.
12, yeah. 13 affirmative, 12 negative.
So the motion did just
Still not pass.
we need 14. So we have,
Yep, you need 20.
20, yeah, we need 20. The motion dies.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have number 3, which is 20-3, authorizing an extension of special use permit, SEXT-19-002 for zoning case ZC-17-036. This is, it's in Crete Township, commonly known as vacant property on East Goodnow Road, in Crete, Illinois, County Board District Number 1. This was for a solar company, and this was, we discussed this in the past, where the application process for the state takes longer than our special use permit. So I'll make a motion to approve the extension.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Ventura. Previous roll by Ms. Cook.
No, we need a roll
I'm sorry, we are
call.
a roll call, that's right.
Ferry.
Yes.
Frizzalone.
Yes.
Newquist.
Yes.
Ogala.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Mustis. Rice.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Fritz. Mueller. Gould. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Balich. Brooks.
Yes.
Parker. Ventura. Markham.
Yes.
Berkowitz. Cowan.
Yes.
Tumanello. Weigel. Krolitis. Winfrey.
Yes.
25 affirmative.
Motion passes.
All right, that completes land use and development, and I think we're still shorter than last month, so good job, everybody. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 11th, 2020 at 10:30 in this room. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. Next up is Finance. Mr. Harris.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, fellow board members, and all in attendance. We did not have a Finance Committee meeting this month. Sorry. But I do have 2 items on the agenda to bring forward. One is the monthly financial report to be placed on file. I have 2 reports. The first one is a report from the Illinois Department of Revenue showing sales tax remitted to Will County for the month of October 2019 to be $1,778,208.77. The RTA tax received is $2,124,581.32 for a total of $3,902,790.09. The next report is Will County Monthly Treasury Report dated November 30th, 2019 from the Will County Treasurer Tim Brophy. I so move.
Moved by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Mueller. Previous roll by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Brooks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is Resolution 20-4. This is authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents for the Lincoln Tax Program. I so move.
Moved by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous roll by Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Gould. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for February 4th at 2020 at 10 a.m. One of the items that will be on the agenda is the discussion of the cannabis tax and the distribution. This is to begin the discussion, just to, as you know, the money probably will not be rolling in until around September, if any. But we would like to start the discussions regarding the allocation so we can get data and other items. So that would be at the Finance Committee meeting to start. So
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
That concludes my report.
Next up, we have Public Works. Mr. Van Dyne.
Thank you and good morning. We did not have a committee meeting due to the first of the year. All these items came before executive committee. We have 10 items to consider, starting with number 1. 20-5, requesting quick take powers for the acquisition of highway right-of-way for 80th Avenue from south of 191st Street, extending to north 183rd Street, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Cook. Previous roll by Mr. Moostis, second by Mr. Tuminello. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20.6, confirming award of contract to Austin Tyler Construction, $1,737,601.27 for Francis Road and Parker Road, County Board District 12, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Tuminello. Previous roll by Ms. Cook, second by Mr. Ballard. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20.7, improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for Francis Road and Parker Road, using MFT funds, $2 million, County Board District 12, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Tuminello. Previous roll by Mr. Weigel, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-8, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for right-of-way acquisition services for several parcels of property along 135th Street from New Avenue to Archer Avenue, County Board District 7, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll by Mr. Ballard, second by Ms. Cowan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-9, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for right-of-way acquisition services for several parcels of property along 135th Street from New Avenue to Archer Avenue, County Board District 7, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Ballard. Previous roll by Mr. Frizzalone, second by Ms. Ogala. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-10, authorizing approval of an IDOT County Joint Agreement extension for improvements on Cedar Road over Spring Creek, County Board District 7, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Mr. Ballard, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-11, authorizing approval of supplemental professional services agreement for design engineering for Jackson Township Road District, County Board District 2 and 6, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Gould. Previous roll by Mr. Moostis, second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-12, authorizing approval of professional services supplemental agreement for engineering services for Weber Road from Airport Road to 135th Street, County Board District 3 and 13, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Tyson. Previous roll by Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
20-13, authorizing approval of an IDOT county agreement of understanding for maintenance and construction, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Rice. Previous roll, Ms. Fritz, second by Ms. Parker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Lastly, 20-14, authorizing approval of professional services agreement for engineering services for the 2020 Will County Bridge inspections, County Board Districts 1 through 13, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous roll by Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Fritz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Our next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled for February 6, 2020 at 9 a.m., and that concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Dyne. Next up, we have Judicial Committee, Mr. Markham. Sorry. Hey, where?
Up top. Up top.
All right, thank you. We had no meeting this month. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 4th at 9 a.m., so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. Let's see. Next up, we have Public Health and Safety, Mr. Gould.
Morning, Speaker Winfrey and fellow board members. I would first move to place on file the 2019 Governor's Report from the Will County Veterans Assistance Commission.
It's on. Right there. Yep. Oh, it's on red. I thought it was on before. It was green. No, it's good. Okay. Motion by Ms. Sari. We're having a little technical difficulty here. Motion by Mr. Gould, second by, who did I hear say that?
I'll second.
Mr. Mustis, previous roll, Ms. Mueller, second by Mr. Ferry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Resolution 20-15, renewing a contract for pharmaceutical and consulting services at Sunny Hill Nursing Home. Move for approval.
Moved by Mr. Gould, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous roll, Ms. Rice, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Our next meeting is February 5th at 10 o'clock in the County Board Committee Room. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gould.
Jackie. Jackie, right over there,
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Legislative and Policy Committee, Ms. Trenier.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. We don't have any legislation resolutions to bring forward today. We are continuing to work on our state and federal agendas, and I'll repeat once again, if you have anything that you would like us to bring forward, please let us know. Our next meeting will be February 11th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Ms. Trenier. Next up, we have Capital Improvements, Mr. Brooks.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, County Board members. Madam Speaker, I am going to just open up with a couple updates since we did not have a meeting in January. And if you don't mind, we got about 2 dozen bills to pay, and I'm gonna turn it over to Ray to pay, I like that. To pay the bills, and Mr. Tuminello, you can go ahead and close out when you conclude. But we did not have an update on this month, but I did get an update on Will County Courthouse, the Health Department, and the Animal Control Center, which, Dave, it is completed. Their move-in date is January 28th. We will have a building ceremony dedication at 12 noon, Thursday, March the 5th. Everybody be there, be square, and we'll get more updates in our February meeting. So, having said that, Madam Speaker, may I say, take it away, Ray.
All right. Okay, where is Ray? There you go. All right. Went on.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks, Madam Speaker, County Board members. First thing is item number 20-16, approval for use of construction contingency funds of the new courthouse for electrical revisions, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Cook. Previous row by Ms. Mueller, second by Ms. Ogala. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next is Resolution 20-17, authorizing payment to Stromsland, DeYoung, and Priebus for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Markham. Previous row, Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Fritz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-18, authorizing payment to Gilbane Building Company for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Second. Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll by Mr. Markham, second by Mr. Van Dyne. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-19, authorizing payment to Farnsworth Group for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Second. Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Ogala. Previous row, Ms. Ventura, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-20, authorizing payment to White & Company for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous row, Ms. Tyson, second, Ms. Parker. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is 20-21, authorizing payment to NES Environmental for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Gould. Previous row, Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Tyson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-22, authorizing payment to Houston KACO Incorporated for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Mueller. Previous roll, Ms. Rice, second by Ms. Ventura. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-23, authorizing payment to ComEd for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Weigel. Previous roll, Mr. Ballage, second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is authorizing payment 20-24 to the Glen Ellen Storage Company for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Newquist. Previous roll, Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Ballage. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-25, authorizing payment to Nicor Gas for the Will County Courthouse, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Van Dyne. Previous roll, Ms. Cowan, second by Mr. Carlitis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-26, authorizing payment to Leopardo Companies for the Will County Health Department, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Ms. Rice. Previous roll, Mr. Brooks, second by Mr. Frizzalone. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-27, authorizing payment to Kluber Architects and Engineers for the Will County Health Department, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Ms. Ogala, second Ms. Rice. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-28, authorizing payment to AT&T for the Will County Health Department, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Van Dyne. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second Ms. Newquist. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-29, authorizing payment to Farnsworth Group for the Will County Health Department, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Ferry. Previous roll, Mr. Markham, second by Ms. Tyson. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-30, authorizing payment to White & Company for the Will County Animal Control Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Fritz. Previous roll, Mr. Harris, second by Ms. Trenier. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-31, authorizing payment to Harbor Contractors for the Will County Animal Control Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Ms. Mueller. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Mr. Mustis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-32, authorizing payment to Farnsworth Group for the Will County Animal Control Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Carlitis. Previous roll, Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-33, authorizing payment to Nicor Gas for the Will County Animal Control Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Gould. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is 20-34, authorizing payment to Harbor Contractors for the Will County EMA Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Frizzalone. Previous roll, Mr. Brooks, second by Mr. Harris. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda is 20-35, authorizing payment to Farnsworth Group for the Will County EMA Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Markham. Previous roll, Ms. Berkowitz, second by Ms. Fritz. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Next is
Motion carried.
Next is 20-36, authorizing payment to White & Company for the Will County EMA Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Weigel. Previous roll, Mr. Gould, second by Mr. Ferry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last but not least, item number 23, 20-37, authorizing payment to Nicor Gas for the Will County EMA Facility, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Tuminello, second by Mr. Van Dyne. Previous roll, Mr. Frizzalone, second by Ms. Newquist. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Next capital, motion carries. Okay.
Sorry.
Next Capital Improvements Committee meeting is scheduled for February 4th at 11 a.m., and that concludes the paying of the bills.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Tuminello.
None of those were my bills. I tried
No.
to move in.
I would have paid them for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have Executive Committee, Mr. Ferry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and good morning, everyone. First off, 19377, authorizing a tolling agreement for the Humboldt Road extension. This was on the table. First, we have to have a motion to take it off the table.
Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And because this is not complete, we need another motion to put it back on the table.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a clarification, there's still more language to construct on that.
Right.
Number 2 is 2038, authorizing an agreement with Green Garden Township for the Mobility Management Project, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Ferry, second by Mr. Moostis. Previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second by Ms. Cook. All those in favor?
That wasn't the reason I went.
Okay. You had a question, Ms. Trenier?
Yeah, I actually attended the paratransit meeting last Friday, and it seemed about as clear as mud to me as to why we don't have this throughout the county. And I would just like to respectfully ask that the executive's office either explain it to me or something, because I just feel like this should be across the county and not just on the eastern side. So there was a lot of information given, but it still was not clear to me. I think it's a great benefit. I think it's, we're doing this through grant money. It's not costing anything additional of our taxpayers. I'm very much in support of it, and I'll be in support of this motion. Thank you.
Yeah, to make sure. Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Mr. Moostis?
I've done, and I've been part of this transit for a long time, and of course, my township participates. Our program, the Will Ride program, and Nick, you can jump in here anytime, but our program requires local sponsorship and participation, and everyone can join and participate, regardless of if it's a township, a municipality. So it is open to everyone throughout the county. I think the reason you're seeing more eastern participation currently is because they didn't have anything. Many other parts of the county, whether it's through a municipality or a township or senior organizations, if they're doing senior rides, had some other type of had some other program. So right. I think that I'm with you. I'd love to see everybody get in. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see one countywide system, but it's not easy. And for the county to do a total countywide system, you're talking multi-millions of dollars to do that. So, and I'd like to see, it would be great if we had that money, but it's a real challenge, believe me. I just want to say this is something I've been working on for 40 years, and it's one of the most challenging initiatives I've ever taken on. So that's all I want to say.
Just a real quick follow-up, and I'm happy to come and bring Wendy. We can come to the committee and give a more detailed report, but a quick response is it's funding, and it's always been funding. In a quick history, in 2010-ish, we did a coordinated paratransit study for the countywide view, and there are a number of legacy systems in the Joliet area particularly, but the Joliet area has fixed route service. Bolingbrook has limited fixed route, and as Mr. Musta said, Eastern Will County has virtually no service. Their service is, as far as fixed route, is the University Park train station, which connects them to the greater Chicago region. But this is going to get a little into the weeds, but I won't go too far. 2013, the system fell apart out there that was existing. There was a external group that ran it, and it basically died at Christmas time, and we had to call Pace in and get them to pick up the system temporarily, and then that's where, Mr. Moose, as you remember, the county came in and partnered, and that's where we hired Wendy and brought her on board from a township organization. But it really is about funding, but the original study envisioned a countywide system. It's just there's not funding for it, and we've battled over the years to try to get PACE and RTA to expand the services, but the fair recovery rate for the system, RTA system-wide, is like 45 cents. So every dollar that it costs to run the system, we're only collecting 45 cents from the fare, which means 55 cents has to come from somewhere else. And we've pieced together funding from senior programming that comes from the state and other places, but that's been shrinking too. So we'll come to committee, because I think that's more appropriate. We can really go into the details, but one of the ideas, I'll just put this out there for thought, is years ago we talked about using some of the RTA money to pay for this, but at that point the county didn't want to run the system. The county was partnering with PACE, who is the professional bid out service, and that's what we use now. They contract out through a bid process and select somebody. We don't employ anybody but Wendy Garlich on this to run it, but if we want to go a different direction, the county could step up and put more money in, and we could ask other partners. But right now, the townships put money in and get a match from grants that we receive. So there's a lot more details, but the simple answer is it's cost, is what it is.
Okay. Judy?
Yeah, so the big thing is, exactly like Nick said, is cost is out in my area, which is the Eastern Will County, which is where the majority of this is. I've had 2 different townships pull back out because the cost is so much, so they backed out, and they also very much limit what services you can go to. So Creek currently was allowing residents to go to the grocery store and various other things, and the cost is something that the township cannot afford. So they're looking at getting out of this and doing it with themselves and partnering with Washington Township. So it is a big issue. The cost is an issue. It is a nice thing to offer seniors. I know my father-in-law, when he was alive, we did use it for him to take him to the doctor, because my husband and I were both working and he couldn't drive. So it is an issue, and the whole thing is funded through tax dollars. So it's not like it doesn't cost anybody anything. It's funded through tax dollars or grants, which are tax dollars. All that stuff is tax dollars put towards a certain thing. So we need to be, always make sure that when we say it costs us taxpayers all the time for the services that are used for this. So I don't know. I know that when I've spoken with Wendy, that she would like to have a presentation, and I also know too that part of the problem is where the buses are, the distance is so far till they pick them up. So I think it's something we should look at and see if we can rework agreements or something. So that would be good.
We may even want to, and this is something else to think about, we may want to do an updated survey of the services that are out there. But the other thing, too, 2 clarifications. One, Wendy, we pay the match on her grant. We don't pay her full salary, most of her salary. But the other thing is, for Eastern Will County residents, for example, if they didn't have this service, they would pay astronomically more to have like a van car or whatever, like a contracted service. We are giving them the best deal that's available. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have anything. But there's a need out there, and it's not just Eastern Will County. There are other parts of the county that are underserved, and this is a quality of life issue. But we primarily serve seniors going to doctor's appointments, grocery trips, and limited kind of convenience things. We don't do like just a lot of leisure trips. These are like quality of life and basic necessity issues. So.
Thank you. Can I have a motion in a second before Mr.
Yeah, I do think it's worth noting that we do try to address cost and bring down costs. Now PACE has gone out and found us a new provider. That new provider is going to be a little bit less in cost, and which is going to enable maybe the townships to stay in. I mean, I think it's worth noting that we do are sensitive to costs. We're, the county now, we're sensitive to the cost to our partners, primarily townships, and we are trying to address that best we can. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Nick, but, and many of our rides are more than quality of life. They are life-saving. These are people who are going through dialysis, are going to crucial medical appointments and treatments. And as Nick mentioned, the alternatives to those are extraordinarily expensive. So, and we also provide a lot of rides for seniors who don't always move so well, and we do provide people who are in wheelchairs and have other limitations. And for them to get alternative kinds of rides is, as Nick mentioned, is extraordinarily expensive. But I did think it was worth mentioning that we do try to address at the county the cost and are sensitive to our partners.
Short of the county infusing a lot of money into this or other governmental entities, I mean, it's hard to see this changing. The only other alternative, which we envisioned a long time ago, and I would still like to look at, is could we get some private investment in this too? If we can show a doctor's office or a shopping center that we're delivering 500 residents to them a month, let's just say, because some could be that high, would they be willing to sponsor to some level? Because I've asked years ago I asked DuPage County, why didn't they do that? And they said, it's too much trouble. But they were subsidizing it largely from their county funds.
Right.
If they get into trouble with their county funds, then they're going to be looking at that too. But that's the only alternative. But we'd have to put a significant amount of money to bring the costs down, because these aren't cheap rides. Because on a fixed route, when you can run and you can pick people up all day long, it's one thing, but this is limited ridership over large distances of ground because it's a rural area. But we'll prepare a report and come and talk in more detail, and maybe with some proposals, and then the board can decide what the direction is to go. So, thank you.
Ms. Ventura?
Yes, in the past, I've also spoken about, I think, the need for public transportation, so I would encourage us to look at both in putting more funding in, especially since we did pass the gas tax, and I was in favor of moving our RTA fund over into public transportation, or at least some portion of it. I also think that looking at the CMAP or bringing them in, they have for their 2050 study, a push towards more public transportation, which means there may be available grants there. So I think there's opportunities to try and connect the townships with the county, and if that means we have to step up and take a bigger role, this is something that's going to help our residents, as both Judy and Jim spoke about. So I'm in favor of looking for more solutions here.
Okay. Mr. Ferry? Oh, Mr. Brooks, sorry.
Thank you so much. So kind. They don't normally do that to me, but thank you.
Sure
Madam
thing.
Speaker, Nick had mentioned that he and Wendy be glad to come to a committee to discuss. What committee? Would that be executive?
Well, we have the Paratransit Committee, and then
Correct.
It could also be Public Works.
But Paratransit, I know I go to that. I missed the last one, Wendy, forgive me.
We could do that.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad I thought of that. Thanks, Jim. All right, thank you. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Ferry?
Thank you. Next is number... Oh, we didn't vote?
We're going to vote on that.
She said we did already.
Are you sure?
Go ahead. We'll just do it again. Okay. All right.
For the beginning. So we still need to do previous roll.
Okay. So with your previous roll, Ms. Trenier, second, Ms. Ventura. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next is number 3, 20-39, new hire for Records Management Department, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Berkowitz, previous roll by Mr. Van Dyne, second by Mr. Ballage. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And next, number 4 is 20-40, replacement hires for Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and I so move.
Moved by Mr. Ferry, second by Ms. Fritz, previous row by Ms. Parker, second by Mr. Tuminello. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next executive committee meeting is scheduled for February 6th at 10 a.m. Now I'd like a motion to accept the appointments by the county executive, January appointments.
Moved by Mr. Ferry, second by Mr. Brooks, previous row Ms. Cook, second by Ms. Mueller. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ferry. Do we have any public comments? Any members of the public wishing to speak? Members of the public wishing to speak? Thank you. Okay. We are going to have an executive session today, so just bear that in mind. Comments by county board members.
What are we going to do this before or after the executive session?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do executive session. We're going into executive session for the purpose of,
Announce that, though.
well, I'm declaring what is it we're going
Pending litigation.
Pending litigation. Okay. Ms. Ogala.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment based on some comments that were made last month at our committee, at our county board meeting, regarding conversations about issues that we talk about at committee, and then the decision or the discussion of, well, we had the discussion at committee, so we shouldn't have the discussion here. Here's the thing, we can't all be at every committee meeting. Not all of us are on every committee. And even if you're on, sometimes you do miss a committee meeting. I think it's very important for all of us to have a full discussion, regardless if you're on the committee or not, if you've had the time to attend or not, to have it at county board before we actually vote. So I think that everybody who is a committee chair, you should have that in your mind, because it makes sense for us to vote on something after we have fully discussed it. It doesn't make sense to vote on something and say, listen, we discussed it at my committee and you weren't there, so too bad, we're not going to talk about it, or we shouldn't talk about it. I think that's the wrong approach. So I think we should all have the opinion that it makes the most sense for us to fully discuss anything that we're going to be voting on, so that we all are voting with all the information before us. Thank you.
Thank you. We need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation. Yes. Could we, I'm sorry, what was it? Okay.
I just wanted to invite everybody on today, January 16th, 6 o'clock tonight at the Fountaindale Public Library in Meeting Room B. There's going to be a census seminar where you're going to be able to learn about the census jobs and opportunities. I hope you're sharing with all your communities about the hiring. The census is paying $25 an hour. Granted, it's a temporary job, but that is still lucrative, and it definitely gets people involved in their neighborhoods a little bit. So there's a census seminar tonight being hosted, it looks like, by John Connor, Senator Bertino Tarrant, and Representative Manley. And that's in Bolingbrook. And then also on January 23rd at 9:30 in the morning, the Joliet Area Historical Museum is hosting a We Count 2020 Joliet area meeting. Again, it's another time to find out more about the census and how you can get involved. I believe staff has emailed all the county board members information about these meetings, so if you don't need to write it down, it's in your email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to also bring up some events that are happening this weekend. The Women's March will be on Saturday. There's one in Chicago starting at 11 a.m. and one in Geneva starting at noon. There's also MLK brunch here in Joliet at 10 o'clock on Saturday, and a day of service, a day on, not a day off, at 7:30 on Monday, the 20th, at the Joliet Central High School. So if you want to get out there and participate in either of those events, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. Rachel was saving me a lot of words. My glue beginning to come loose now, so I got to keep it short. Martin Luther King birthday is Monday. We call it a day on, not a day off. We do have a celebration in Joliet Sunday, St. Paul Church, 1404 South Break Street, Joliet, our annual Rainbow Push Martin Luther King celebration. Find somewhere to be on. Thank you.
At 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
Others? Ms. Cook?
6 a.m.
Hi, I just wanted to bring a little update from my Modern Housing Solutions Committee. We are not going to meet in February. It would be on the 12th, and the county office building is going to be closed that day. So our next meeting is March 11th at 9 a.m. in the committee room, and we are approaching a countywide housing policy. So if you'd like to be part of the discussion, we started in January. We'll be continuing. I welcome anybody on this board to come and participate in that conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Is that it? Okay, so the motion to go into executive session
Not yet.
for the purpose of litigation? We're going to come back.
Comments? Oh, after, okay.
Okay. Come back. Please.
All right, I'm going to call the roll.
Motion by Ms. Trenier. Second by Mr.
That isn't the way it's
Frizzalone.
listed.
Madam Clerk, the roll.
Ferry.
Yes.
Frizzalone. Newquist. Ogala. Cook. Mostas. Rice. Tyson. Harris. Trainier. Fritz. Mueller. Gould. Van Dyne. Balich. Brooks. Parker. Ventura. Dollinger. Markham. Berkowitz. Cowan. Tumanello. Weigel. Curlitis. Winfrey.
Yes.
24 affirmative.